everybody, today we're debating Flat Earth versus Globe Earth, and we're starting right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for another epic debate. Tonight we're debating Flat Earth versus Globe Earth, and at Modern Day Debate, we are a nonpartisan channel hosting debates on science, politics, and religion in the most neutral and fair way possible. We are a nonpartisan channel. In other words, we have no views ourselves. We just host debates, and we let you, the audience, decide who is most persuasive. We are excited to let you know as well, we have plenty more debates to come. So if you're like us and you're kind of sick inside and you enjoy these juicy debates, well, consider hitting that subscribe button as we have many more to come. For example, this Wednesday, Black Lives Matter will be the subject of our debate. And want to let you know a couple of other things. One, Modern Day Debate has invaded the podcast world. So if you have not seen us yet on your favorite podcast, let us know and we will work to get on there so that you can listen to these debates on podcast as well as on YouTube. And we're going to go basically, you could say we're going to have a fairly flexible format. It's going to be easy going tonight, where it's going to be about 12 minutes roughly from each side, split between the speakers. We're going to have our Globe team go first, and then we're going to have the Flat Earth team go. Also, what we're going to do is open discussion afterward. That'll be about an hour, and then we'll have Q&A at the end. Want to let you know, we are, as a result of having, sometimes we have a lot of silly super chats, and so what we're doing now is, if it's a serious question and you send in a $2 super chat, we will totally read it, absolutely. But if it is like a $2 super chat and it's something like, man, like Nathan's beard makes him look like an Amish man, I'm like, okay, well, like, you know, if you pay $5, we'll read it, but like, we're not going to read it for $2. So in other words, we're trying to get you to cut down. We're trying to cut down on those super chats. And so that way, basically, sometimes we've had criticism. People are like, hey, it's like, you read all these like silly super chats. We need the serious questions. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, sorry, I'm like working on it. And so just an explanation for why that is. Want to let you know as well, all of our guests are linked in the description. So if you'd like to hear more from our guests, well, how convenient that you can click on those links in the description and hear plenty more where that came from. So what we're going to do is just ask each of the speakers to let us know a little bit about what you can expect to find at their links. So we're going to start with Jeff. Daugherty, by the way, want to say a huge thank you to Anthony Chicante. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, friend. Let me know if I didn't pronounce your name right. But Anthony, we really appreciate. Anthony connected with us with Jeffrey. He said, hey, Jeffrey's willing to come on. And we're like, that's awesome. And so thanks to Anthony and Jeffrey. Thanks so much for being here with us. What can people expect to find at your link?
Well, first of all, James, it's an honor and a privilege to be with you. And I'm deeply appreciative that you're hosting a channel that keeps the dialectic discourse alive. It's a lost art. So salute to you for that. My channel is The Christian Whistleblower. I spent 20 years as a licensed minister, over 100,000 hours of studying the biblical scripture. And I spend some time now shining the light into the dark corners of orthodoxy, saying that Christianity's become a fear and guilt control matrix, and giving people ideas on how they can identify that and decide if it's for them. It's my honor and privilege to be here with you. I'm the mailman. Sometimes I bring you checks. You love me. Sometimes I bring you bills. You hate me, but I hope you'll at least open it and take a look.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. And Nathan Thompson has returned with his impressive beard. Nathan, glad to have you. Let us know what people can expect to find at your link. Oh, I think you might have yourself on mute. Let me check.
Yeah, so guys, I run the largest flat earth group in the world. We focus on independent, firsthand, peer-reviewed science that we can verify ourselves, basically what real science is. We've got 135,000 members in the group. On my YouTube link, you'll find activists that I do, sharing with activism I do, sharing with people, astrophotography that I do, taking pictures of the sky, long distance observations, cold moonlight tests, all sorts of things, and occasionally some scripture videos. I'm also a Christian too. So thanks so much for having me, James.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. And we'll kick it over to Planarwalk. Thrilled to have you. And also, thanks, Planarwalk, for connecting us with Seek Truth, Speak Truth, first timer here today. And so, Planarwalk, if you can let people know where people can find at your link. Thanks for being here.
Ahoy hoy. Well, over on my channel, I debunk all types of conspiracies, mostly flat earth, but I also delve into other things. And sometimes, recently I made a video on New Zealand politics. So if you're interested in all that kind of stuff, you can head over there.
You got it. Thanks so much. And Seek Truth, Speak Truth, we are thrilled to have you here. If you would like to let everybody know what they can find at your link, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, dude. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, I'm Seek Truth, Speak Truth, guys, ex-flat earther. So basically my channel is dedicated to calling out nonsense. It was about 7 months ago now that I realised, and yeah, I'm now going to step out, start debating, and trying to spread the message Earth is not flat.
You got it. Well, thanks so much for being with us. And with that, folks, as mentioned, the Globe team will go first. And so, like I said, it's about 12 minutes. So I have the clock set, and the floor is all yours, gentlemen.
All right. So I think I'll start off by saying that I've got a video here, if I am able to share my screen. And I think this video succinctly makes my point for me. So,
excellent. It's up.
All right. So this video is titled, Is the Earth Flat? And it's just a video where I answer the question, is the Earth flat? And of course, I do have evidence to back it up in that video. So let's take a look. Nope.
A 15-degree-per-hour drift.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Oh, that's okay. So that is a collection of evidence that I have, and I do hope that our flat Earth proponents here will be bringing a model. It'd be nice to see that, but I don't think we ever get one of them. So, Seek Truth, Speak Truth, do you have anything that you'd like to?
Well, I mean, for that, buddy, we might as well just pack our bags and go. I think. But no, really. Yeah, I've got a couple of other things. Like you said, actually, the model, flat Earth map. I mean, if the Earth was flat, the easiest thing would be a flat. The sizes of everything exact to scale. There's never been a map produced of that map what we see and observe in reality, and the reason is because we live on a globe. Another little thing, people mention obviously, water sticking to a spinning ball. I used to fall for this one myself, and now it's about scale. And you look at things like scale the Earth down to the size of a basketball, and the ocean on that basketball would be 0.015 millimeters deep, which is barely a film. So in relation to the size of it's not a big deal that there's that amount of water sticking to it, because in relation to the size of the Earth, actually a very insignificant time. And then no could be big. Really, this is what caught me, is the millions of people that would have to be involved actually this. And the fact that nobody out there in the real world, no scientists are even disputing this. It is just people on YouTube, I'm afraid. There are things where science still is in dispute, say global warming, and people are fighting either side, but flat Earth, nothing apart from YouTubers, basically, unfortunately. Introduction.
Thanks so much. We will kick it over to the Flat Earth team. Appreciate those introductions. And Jeffrey and Nathan, the floor is all yours.
Nathan, go for it.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Guys, just so you know, I never wanted to be a flat earther. I didn't start out gung-ho about flat Earth. I was real reluctant to believe it because I didn't need that kind of ostracism and ridicule in my life. I heard B.O.B. was a flat earther, and I laughed on the floor, guys. I could not believe. I thought, what kind of bush is this guy smoking to believe that the Earth is flat? But I was also at that time studying applied neuroscience, biochemistry, epigenetics, steroidogenesis, and the smartest guy I'd ever met in my life told me to look into it. And so I couldn't just call him stupid. I looked into it. And within 5 minutes, I could tell we had no real pictures of the Earth from space. No private companies ever go to space. It's only government companies or government subsidized companies like SpaceX. And so my problem at first is the same problem a lot of people in this chat are going to have. And we're programmed to have this problem, guys, and that's condemnation before investigation. And so I'm going to prove heliocentrism is not true. The modern science of heliocentrism, spinning ball Earth fairy tale, is based on religious superstition, not empirical observation. Kepler, the scientist who came up with what they use today as the theory for elliptical orbits, he was a court astrologer for the Holy Roman Emperor. And that gentleman came out with a revision of Copernicus's book, which was dedicated to the Pope 100 years before Galileo was labeled a heretic by the same church. So this is pay close attention, guys. This is not a scientific deception. It's a spiritual deception masquerading as a scientific deception. Now, if you pay attention to the storyline, the model was constructed from heathen religious beliefs. The religious dogma masquerading as science. I'm going to prove to you guys that. Now, real quick, let's look at the satanic globe math. I don't know if most people are aware of this, but they teach us that the Earth orbits the sun, and the speed of that orbit is 66,600 miles per hour. They teach us that the Earth is tilted. The tilt of that Earth is 23.4 degrees or 66.6 degrees. The curvature of the Earth would be 0.666 feet or 8 inches per mile squared. The circumference of that ball would be 21,600 miles. Now, 216 is 6 times 6 times 6, so 21,600 is 6 times 6 times 600. The diameter of the moon, 2,160. So 6 times 6 times 60. The gravitational constant of Earth, 6.67. Now, you guys can believe that all this stuff is true, but I could no longer go on, one, believing that's true. I had to test it for myself and verify that it was all baloney. Now, to control the masses, heliocentrism must be introduced early and often, so it's a deeply ingrained belief, okay? While at the same time, any idea of a flat Earth is portrayed as, by the educational authorities, as a sign someone is abjectly ignorant or even insane. Guys, when it comes to proving if the Earth is a globe or if it's flat, which I set out to do about 5 years ago, I've done probably hundreds of observations by now. Dozens of them are on my YouTube channel. We've used telescopes, infrared, laser tests, high-power zoom cameras, theodolites with land surveyors. I've also done some astrophotography, star trails, lunar eclipses. I was the first one to verify stars don't intersect the marine horizon as far as I know. They vanish off in the distance and fade away above the horizon. Then I caught the moon doing that in Denver, which would not happen on a heliocentric model. But I'm not going to bore you with the hundreds of observations I've done. I just have 3 arguments for the globe earthers. And James, if I could share my screen.
You got it. They see it.
Excellent. So here we go. Does the Earth spin? We're going to go into 1,040 miles an hour Earth rotation. That's the claim from the globe Earth religion, that the Earth is rotating around an imaginary axis. Now, how would that affect our atmosphere? Would it cause it to rotate as one cohesive body? Or would there be an atmospheric blender effect? Now, if the atmosphere was moving as one cohesive body, that would require that the higher you go up, the atmosphere is increasing in velocity. Now, what natural force could cause air to increase in velocity sideways? You can't say gravity, because gravity allegedly pulls all things down. And this violates basic fluid dynamics, guys. If you move something under a column of air, the entire column of air does not also move with it as a result. That's not how fluids, and that's also not even what the globe states happen. The globe states that there is a Coriolis, or we have an atmospheric blender type effect. Now, this would be what's happening if the Earth was a spinning ball. The problem is it's not observable in nature. Hot air balloons, airplanes, helicopters, insects, smoke, volcano smoke, balls you throw in the air, do not deviate because the Earth is rotating underneath it. That does not happen. That's what they teach in mainstream science. I'm going to hope they're going to have some sort of physical demonstration or scientific evidence that the Earth is rotating 1,040 miles an hour. Now, I'm going to move to my second point, which is the atmosphere has to be contained. Now, could the atmosphere exist without a physical barrier? No. It's called the firmament. It's called the dome. It's called the sky map, the sky clock. That's been above our heads for thousands of years. We have constellations, stationary pole star. None of that is changing. It's predictable seasons, predictable eclipses. It's like this idea of, is the sky a vacuum, is like asking, can a tire rim have pressure around it without a tire in a vacuum? Now, no, of course, it could not, but that's what the globe Earth asserts. So we're going to need some proof. You can have gas pressure without a container, physical container. That's my second claim. Third claim is the Earth a globe? Now, if it were a globe, it would be manifesting physical curvature in the topography. Okay, the oceans would be convex, not flat. The oceans would be sea curved, not sea level. You look at the spherical trigonometry for a globe, we should see approximately 8 inches or 0.666 feet of drop per mile squared. Now, this is tangent drop vertically, right, on a level plane with your feet. We don't observe that. You go to the coastline, you go to the shoreline, you go to any lake, it is not dropping down, it's moving away from you. So we have dozens of observations. I won't go over them all. I just want to point out one. We would not be able to see Chicago from the other side of Lake Michigan. And this is just one, guys. I have hundreds. I don't have time for them. I want Jeff to get some words in. But there are literally, I could go through here, all these lighthouses, the world record photographs seen from 270 miles away, 50,000 feet of missing curvature. The properties of water are large bodies of water at rest are level and horizontal to the earth. Now, real quick, I don't know what that introduction was from the globe earthers at all whatsoever, but never produced a map. We never claimed to have a map. That's a straw man argument. You said, I hope you bring a model. Well, I hope you bring a model because neither side has a model. It's begging the question fallacy on both sides. Scale, Earth's not large enough. We already talked about how much Earth curve we should see. I don't know why you have to shrink it down into a basketball and do all these hypothetical pretend scenarios. But if the Earth was a globe 24,000 miles around, it would drop 8 inches per mile squared tangent to our feet, and it doesn't. And millions of people are in agreement. What is that? Just some argument from personal incredulity and a bandwagon fallacy? Oh, all these millions of scientists agree with me, so we're right. I mean, come on, guys. I really was hoping you'd bring more to the table. Jeff, go ahead, take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nathan. Now, I'm a very simple guy. I come to you from the heartland of America with the spirit of 1776 and a rebel yell. And as I study, I look at human culture, and I know that the highest expression of human culture in our memory is that of Greece, which followed very close hard on the Atlantean culture. And that's the culture that, in my opinion, produced the highest examples of human culture ever. Art, theater, writing, sculpture, architecture, politics, social order. In my opinion, it was humanity at its highest and best. It's the culture that produced Aristotle. It's the culture that produced Ptolemy. And these are guys that stressed people deciding what's true by what they can observe. And both of these men observed a heliocentric universe with a stable, unmoving Earth. And by the way, this makes mankind very, very special and very, very unique. And it wasn't until Copernicus that this model was even questioned. And Copernicus was the first to suggest a heliocentric universe with a globe Earth. In about 1543, he had extensive correspondence with Pope Paul III before releasing his work. And coincidentally, in quotes, this is the same Pope that authorized the Jesuit order and the Counter-Reformation in 1540. And more astronomers come from the Jesuit order than any other single group. And incidentally, it was a Jesuit philosopher, a Jesuit physicist that came up with the Big Bang Theory. We've got literally scientists from Aristotle down to Stephen Hawking himself saying that all of the data, all of the observable data, forget our opinions, all of the observable data is exactly the same, whether it is the Earth that is stationary and immovable, or whether it's the sun that's stationary and immovable. And I've got the quotes to prove it if I'm asked to do so in the further discussion. So being of an Aristotelian mindset, if I can use that word, if the data is exactly the same, and it is, I fall back on my powers of observation, on my powers of being able to see, to feel, and to experience. And I know when I stand on this earth that it's stable. I know when I stand on this earth that it's not revolving around the sun. And I had the opportunity or misfortune, however you look at it, to spend 3 hours locked in a room with Eddie Bravo. Guess what we talked about? We talked about flat Earth. And as I apply observation to flat Earth, and I don't know what else you guys have done, but I was a C-130 crew chief. I've spent thousands of hours flying at 30,000 feet, looking out over the Earth. You know what I saw? Flat. I've been inverted at 50,000 feet in the backseat of an F-15, looking at the Earth. And you know what I saw? Flat. The highest expressions of human culture say the Earth is stable and heliocentric. My observations tell me it's stable and heliocentric. Nancy Pelosi says we need to listen to science, science, science. I prefer to listen to Aristotle. I prefer to listen to Ptolemy, and I prefer to listen to Jeffrey Daugherty. And that's where I stand.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. We will kick it into open conversation mode. So thanks so much, gentlemen, and the floor is all yours.
All right. So I'm curious, Planarwalk, Seek Truth, Speak Truth. Have you guys ever tested the Earth yourself?
Depends what you mean by tested the Earth.
Proven that it's a ball or that it spins?
Well, I've made observations which lead credence to it being a ball.
And those were?
Well, there's when I went on a plane, I did things with a level where I checked and I saw that the horizon does not rise to eye level, which a lot of flat earthers expect. On a plane, it was dropping a considerable amount below eye level.
You know the horizon's apparent, not actual, right?
Yes, I know that
is apparent. It's not an actual location.
But the apparent horizon is generally based off the actual horizon.
Okay, if the Earth was a globe, we would have an actual horizon approximately 2 to 3 miles out.
Yeah, we do have an actual horizon, and the apparent horizon is based off of it.
Oh, we have an actual horizon 3 miles out. That's interesting. Are you familiar with the Black Swan?
Oh, I am familiar with the Black Swan. We also have a apparent... Yes, and that has a lot of refraction there, leading to an apparent horizon that is very different to the actual horizon in that particular image.
So refraction is your answer for the horizon being 7 miles farther than we should see it?
Yes, because people can calculate when it comes to refraction where the horizon should appear given the conditions.
Can you define refraction for the audience?
Refraction is when light bends due to the density of the medium that it is traveling through changes.
Got you. Excellent. So it's pretty much distortion, right? The light is bending. It's changing due to distortion in the atmosphere?
Yeah,
right?
We can say that.
So you're going to tell me when it's clear and no refraction, we see a 3-mile horizon Earth curve. But when it's not clear, guys, this is the whole globe argument. It's completely illogical and inverse to reality. They are saying that the more distorted, the more refraction, the farther we can see. Now, do you understand how illogical that just sounds off bat?
I mean, when it comes to the Black Swan image, that has a lot of refraction. So yes, you would see, you'd be able to see further.
Okay.
Because light is bent down.
You're missing the point, okay? When the objects in the distance are distorted, you can't see them. They're distorted. There's stuff in the way. The medium's the temperature's changing. The light is bending. But you're saying when it does that, it looks flat. We see way too far. But when it's clear, hold on, let me finish. But when it's clear out, you're saying the horizon's at 3 miles, we can see the Earth curve.
Well, when it comes to that particular image, the objects are clearly distorted.
The argument is not about the objects. The argument is about the horizon. Please stop trying to straw man an argument.
Well, I'm not straw manning it because there is clear distortion in that image. That image shows distortion. If you're ignoring the objects, then you can't have a reference of where the horizon is. Whereas in that image, you use the objects, the platforms in this case, to say, well, this platform is this amount of miles away, so therefore the argument must be, the horizon must be behind it. Whereas when you look at the platforms, they're very clearly distorted.
Not must be behind it. The horizon is behind it, Planarwalk. And I don't know if you're paying attention to your argument, but your argument is that the horizon is a physical edge of geometric globe Earth geometry, and it would be at 3 miles. What do you not understand about this being way past 10 miles? And your argument is, oh, well, when there's more distortion and there's more, we can see farther and it looks flat, but when it's clear out, you can't see far, it's Earth curve. Right? Do you understand? It's the opposite of what actually happens, Planarwalk. It's the opposite of reality, which is when there's more stuff in the air, like fog, evaporation, refraction, miraging, it's harder to see, not clear.
Well, as I said, it is very clearly distorted in that image. Now, you can actually look at other images of those same platforms, which showed the platforms disappearing over the horizon.
Okay, so so you're saying that refraction causes the horizon to raise up above the horizon.
The refraction causes the horizon to appear further in the distance, and it does actually cause it to raise up behind other objects because of the thing called looming.
So the horizon can be looming? Can you define looming for the audience? I know exactly what it is, and I'm going to pulverize your argument. But please define looming for the audience.
Looming is when the light is bent downwards so that objects appear higher on the horizon.
Objects appear higher, objects that you can already see. Now, my question, Planarwalk, for you is the horizon an object?
Yes.
Oh,
it is part of an object.
The horizon is an object, it's physical, and it's not apparent. So the sky actually touches the earth? It's a physical place you can go to?
All right.
Well, the horizon is part of a object. It's part of the earth. So the earth, so even though there's not a particular point where the earth meets the sky, the earth part of the horizon is an object. It is the earth.
Okay, the horizon is not an object, and that's what you're claiming is looming. Now, I just asked you to define looming, and you said it's when objects appear above the horizon. So you're saying it's when the horizon appears above the horizon?
Well, the earth part, so below the horizon, you've got the earth. I'm not saying that there's some arbitrary barrier that is loomed up. The earth is loomed up, which is under the horizon, and the horizon is defined as where the earth meets the sky.
Jeff, do you have anything else for this guy on Earth curve? Because he's saying that when it's distorted, we see farther, it looks flat, but when it's clear, you can't see you can't see far, we see Earth curve. I mean, that's like a level of abject ignorance I wasn't prepared for. I want to move on to Earth rotation.
Hold on. I just want to respond to that, because when it comes to the black swan images where the objects in the distance are clear, or
it's not about the objects. It's about the horizon. I don't know why you
but we can use the objects. What's that? Seek truth, speak truth.
Sorry, no, I was going to say if the Earth was flat, was the horizon 3 miles away, it would always platform have. And I just can't see how people can't see that. How you have to have horizon for there to even be an apparent horizon. Like I say though, flat Earth, the horizon would always be behind that second platform. That is the way you would view it. That you would never have a horizon as close as 3 miles away.
One sec, just to be sure that we understood that, because I think that the connection's a little bit up and down, but Planarwalk, did you kind of get the gist of that? Could you put that in a summary just to be sure that everybody, did you hear it?
Yeah, so when it comes to that, what he's saying is that when it comes to the horizon, sometimes it's in front of the platforms. You can see the platforms disappearing over the horizon. And I was actually going to mention about when it comes to those days where you do see the platforms behind the horizon, it's very clear. You can see them. They're not distorted at all. Whereas in the black swan image, there is distortion happening. You can see that it's all distorted. And so, so the black swan image because we're using refraction as an argument, the black swan image is consistent with our argument.
Well, gentlemen, again, I'm a simple guy, but black swan, red swan, pink swan, purple swan. If I'm correct, Nathan, we're talking about an image that was of something that's over 10 miles away, correct?
Yeah, the horizon is over 10 miles away, and it should be 3 miles away on their globe Earth, which would have a physical geometric edge, but does not, and they just claim it's refraction causing the horizon.
Unless I'm completely missing the boat, we shouldn't be able to even see that object at nearly 11 miles away because of the curvature of the Earth. And it doesn't matter if it's refracted, it doesn't matter if it's fuzzy, it doesn't matter if it's blurry. If there's a curved Earth, we wouldn't see red swan, pink swan, black swan, any swan, right?
So there are phenomena that, such as refraction, which can cause light to bend down, which makes objects appear higher. Now, when it comes to the light being bent down, downwards, the reason why the horizon gets sent backwards in the beyond those beyond those objects is because the further out it is, the more refraction that it is subject to. So the higher in the image these things are subjected to.
Well, Planer, that's very eloquent. Are you familiar with Occam's razor?
Yes.
So is your argument more simple, or is the fact that we can see it because it ain't round more simple?
Well, if the argument that we don't see it because it ain't round was the actual, well, if that was the true, then we wouldn't see objects disappear over the horizon at all.
But the only reason we see objects disappear over the horizon is because they go out of our vision. I've got a nice camera, and guess what? I was born and raised on Clearwater Beach, Florida. I can watch a boat go over the horizon. Crikey, it's gone over the edge of the earth. But then you know what I do? I pick up my camera and I zoom in, and guess what? Boop! It comes back, and it comes back, and it comes back. Now, eventually, it'll get far enough away that atmospheric interference and humidity means I can't see it, but I can see that thing for a long damn way. And again, I really don't have a dog in this fight per se. All I know is that what I see that boat come back. It's not going over horizon. It's going straight. And only until it gets too far away from my technology to see it, does it disappear.
Yeah, you do realize things disappear bottom up on a flat Earth too, right?
Does it disappear first?
What?
No, they wouldn't.
What's that, Seek Truth?
Terrible audio on that guy. But that's a bottom up fallacy. Things disappear bottom up on a flat Earth too.
What's a bottom up fallacy, Nathan?
You can't claim that things are obstructed by Earth curve. That's why they disappear bottom up. Because
that's
they
actually a
disappeared
good point.
That way on a flat Earth too. You guys do realize that.
Why?
Do you expect things on a flat Earth to vanish top to bottom or sideways?
I'd expect them to get smaller into the distance until they're no longer resolvable by the human eye.
Oh, they do that, Planarwalk. Now, will you tell me why none of the Earth curve calculators online account for angular size reduction?
They do.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Which Earth curve calculator is that? Because I've personally debated Metabunk, and that's not true. They do not account for perspective.
Yes, it does.
The only reason things are obscured or obstructed on an Earth curve calculator is, guess what, Planarwalk? Earth curve. It's the only reason for obstruction.
Well, the Earth curve calculator on Metabunk, when I find it, has a section there saying pure angular size results.
Yeah, I've debated that guy in Vegas. He says we can see the curve of Earth from 40,000 feet up, which Jeff Daugherty, I mean, you've been 50,000 feet. You didn't see the curve, right?
I was 50,000 feet inverted in a F-15, and no, I didn't see anything but flat.
And Neil Tyson said you can't see the curve from 128,000 feet, but this website you're on right now says we can see it from 44,000 feet. So maybe we should have Neil Tyson and Metabunk get together and decide at what altitude we can see Earth curve. Do you want to tell us, Planarwalk, or Seek Truth, Speak Truth, what altitude?
Hold up, James. James, can I?
The horizon is a flat line.
Hold
horizon
on. Let's
horizontal flat
I do
line.
want to be sure that Planarwalk gets a chance to respond as well, and promise
James,
we'll come right back to you guys. Go ahead, Planner.
Did you invite Neil deGrasse Tyson into this voice chat? Into this chat? Because Nathan's mentioning Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't.
Yeah, he's the most famous scientist in the world with 6 million followers.
That's a Neil deGrasse Tyson fallacy.
And he stated, guys, that you can't see Earth curve from 128,000 feet, and you could see yourself from the inside capsule of the Red Bull space jump that the Earth is a level horizon plane. Also, the capsule did not experience Earth rotating underneath, which is what I'd like to get to, because none of you guys have any data for Earth curve at all whatsoever. You just say refraction, refraction, which isn't an argument, because that's the opposite of what actually happens. When there's distortion, you can't see things, and when it's clear, you can see farther. That's basic, dude.
Did you not see my video which shows? What's that? Seek Truth?
Your video with the clown music? Are you joking?
It literally
Um,
showed Earth-curve.
Felix.
You guys both admitted you have no data to present for Earth curve. You just keep saying, oh, that happens because of refraction. Okay, we see way too far. The horizon isn't the geometric edge of a ball. We were all taught in school that boats go over the geometric curve. Now they don't because refraction.
Planer, does it bother you? Oh, I'm sorry, I spoke out of turn.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you can go, Jeff.
Planer, does it, and this is just, I mean, I'm not trying to, it's not a gotcha, but does it bother you at all on a personal level that your beliefs are based upon the science and the pictures and the theories of other people? And not only are they not based on your experience and your observation, but they contradict your experience and your observation as a human on planet Earth. Does that cause you any waking moments at night?
Well, no, because first off, it doesn't contradict my experience here on Earth.
Have you seen curves standing there in New Zealand?
All right, let's.
I have been. One of the things that I see is I see the sun going over the horizon.
Yes or no question, I thought.
I've just got to give a bit of a context. So I see the sun going over the horizon. Now, to me, that is evidence that there is Earth curvature. Combine that with the time zones that we experience. So I'd say that my observations line up perfectly with what would expect to see on a globe.
Hey, Planner, can you explain what's going on here? Because the moon did not set around the horizon. It actually vanished into a dot and disappeared above the horizon.
Was that taken with a solar filter?
I took this myself. It was a time lapse. So I don't know why I would need a solar filter. It was of the moon, buddy. Why would I need a solar filter for the moon?
Because there is quite a bit of glare going on there.
Oh, glare? Could you define what glare is? And then I'm going to tear this to shreds too.
Okay, glare is when the brightness of an object is so bright that it makes it appear bigger than what it actually is.
What causes that?
I'm not actually sure.
Oh, well, let me tell you. You got a pen? You got a pen and paper?
Hold on. Let's see if you give him a chance.
Nathan, just let me, Planer, I appreciate you as a researcher. You're here. You're doing a lot of work. You could be playing Halo or something. I appreciate you for that. I've got to the place, I'm an old guy. Maybe it's an age thing, but I can't base my life and the teachings of where I live and beliefs of where I live based on somebody else's data. I want it based on my data. That's why I asked you that question.
Fair enough, but I go off. If a lot of people have made an observation, especially if I can't make those observations, then assuming that those people aren't trying to deceive me, and that's why I prefer to go off independent observations rather than scientific, or than the scientific community that Nathan likes to rip into. So that's like NASA. Then yeah, I prefer to go off independent observations, and they seem to line up.
Yeah. Well, just one piece of advice from an old guy. There's an old saying about what happens when you assume, and you're too smart for that.
Yep. Planarwalk. I'm going to read straight from Pathetic.
Just because, Nathan, pardon my interruption, but just to be sure that I know that you would ask Planarwalk a question before, and that he had said he didn't know, but I do want to give him a chance if he had any speculations on it, just to be sure that you got plenty of time, and then Seek Truth, Speak Truth, just to be sure that you're getting in when you'd like to as well.
So I think so when it comes to glare, I'm pretty sure it's down to the lens, but I may be wrong on that.
Okay, it's well known that when a light of any kind shines through a dense medium, it appears larger or gives off a greater glare. So my question to you, Planarwalk, is when I filmed this time lapse, was the atmosphere getting denser and denser as the moon got closer and closer to me?
So the glare is from your camera lens, not the atmosphere.
Okay, if you want to pretend that, why is the moon so far above the horizon?
What?
What do you mean what? It's not a moon set. It's not a moon set. It's vanishing off in the distance. You don't see how that's relevant because you just talked about sunsets and how that only works on a spinning ball. Remember?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Here the moon didn't set. It vanished above the horizon. That's exactly.
It's literally 3 images.
Yeah, I have the video on my page. I took screenshots of the video and put it into meme format so you guys could understand it, maybe, hopefully.
Nathan, can you tell us why it did that?
Yeah, because the Earth's a level playing field, and the sun and moon move around polar center. So when you observe a sunrise or sunset, that's due to glare. The sun is getting farther away. The atmosphere is getting denser. The most dense atmosphere is at sea level. We live in a closed dynamic system. The gas is inhomogeneous and anisotropic. It's different in all directions and constantly moving around. So it changes, and more at sea level. So that's why you see a sunset at sea level. But when I go 10,000 feet above Denver, you don't see a moonset or a sunset. It fades away and vanishes off in the distance. But
So it's much like watching a ship sail away from you.
Exactly, because things above you vanish just like things below you vanish.
Yep.
Off in the distance, getting smaller and smaller. It's due to perspective, not Earth curve. Planarwalk.
Firstly, I've got to dispute that, because when it comes to these things, you've got to make sure that you actually, you've got to make sure you actually use things like solar filters if you're filming the sun. And people have gone out with solar filters.
That was the moon!
Hold on, we got to give him a chance to respond.
Holy shit, he keeps telling me I need a solar filter for the moon at night, dude.
Well, but
Holy
Nathan,
moly.
you can always respond after he's finished, but we do have to let him finish.
Yeah, or you know, use something that stops the moon from changing angular size due to glare, right? Because that's what's making it appear to change its angular size is glare. So if you use something that just stops it from appearing to change its angular size, like either if you're doing the sun, a solar filter. If you're doing the moon, maybe I think it's raising the exposure, no, lowering the exposure time on the camera will help, and then filming that. Rather than whatever images that you've got there, which have glare on them.
Yep, I was just covering how the horizon, things don't always intersect the horizon. It depends on your altitude and the atmospheric conditions. But Planarwalk, I mean, Jeffrey, do you want to talk any more about these guys about Earth curve? Because I want to move on to how they think the Earth spins 1,000 miles an hour around an imaginary axis.
I would like to hear that and talk about that too, especially after spending 7 years of my life flying around in airplanes. And boy, it'd be a lot easier if we could just go up and let that thing move underneath us. But anyway.
Excellent.
Before we get onto the before we got onto this topic, I would like to just say something, because you picked the first topic, because there's something that you got terribly wrong in both of your guys' intro, and that is when it comes to the Earth being a globe. We've known that for a couple of thousand years at least, and you made it sound like it's something that was recently discovered about 500-ish years ago.
That's what the science says.
What
When
do you
did
mean?
Copernicus publish his findings about the globe Earth? It was
that was about
90, wasn't it?
That was about heliocentrism, not the globe Earth.
Okay, so are we willing to concede heliocentrism then? Was believed until 500 years ago?
Well, I'm willing to concede that geocentrism was believed until about 500 years ago. Geocentrism is not the same as the Earth being flat.
Can you concede that this is all a bandwagon fallacy and you have no scientific evidence of the globe?
How is it a bandwagon fallacy?
You're saying everyone back in the day knew it was a globe, when every ancient civilization, Ptolemy, the Mayans, the Celtics, the Phoenicians, were all calculating based on a flat Earth, eclipses, making sundials, doing astroarchaeology, lining up the sky to megalithic structures on the Earth. You're
with exceeding accuracy
right now. You're joking yourself, right? You realize you're joking.
No, I'm not saying. So what your argument was that it was Copernicus that found out that the Earth was a globe.
No,
and I'm saying
not a globe. And all I said was he dedicated his book to the Pope.
Okay, so your argument was that Copernicus said that the Earth was a globe and was at least one of the first people to say that. However, people have known that the Earth is a globe for much longer than that. I was correcting you on that.
How did people know it, but Copernicus was one of the first ones to say it 500 years ago? What, they just all kept it quiet? It was like a hush-hush?
No.
About the globe Earth, it's like Fight Club?
I guess we're asking for data, Planarwalk. Do you have data that backs up that assertion?
So when it comes to back in the time of the ancient Greeks,
Jeff.
What?
That's a no. I don't have any data. I'm going to continue rambling on about my empty claim.
Well, this is something that you can look up I could probably look it up, in fact. But when it comes to these things, it's been known since the time of the ancient Greeks that the Earth was a globe. They worked it out based on... The first speculation was based on eclipses. Then Eratosthenes actually measured the circumference of the Earth doing an experiment. And then people have known that the Earth was a globe for the next couple millennia.
No disrespect, but I need when and where. I need data, please.
So it was
That
about...
was an excellent bandwagon fallacy, Planner, but could we skip to you proving the Earth rotates, please?
So first off, it wasn't a bandwagon fallacy. I'm just stating that.
Claiming everybody in the past believed it was a globe is a bandwagon fallacy. Can you prove the Earth rotates?
I'm just disputing one of your claims with a separate claim that people knew it was people worked out that it was a globe. I think it was 900 BC that they first speculated, but there was only speculation until about 500 BC, in which they did measurements to actually figure out that what the size of the Earth was, at least.
Oh, really? They measured the size of the Earth?
Yes, they used... Eratosthenes did an experiment with sticks, or with a well at least, to figure out, okay, this is the... and they knew how far away the two wells were, and they calculated based on that.
Are you aware with what affirming the consequent fallacy is? Because you're using it now.
What's that?
Well, even Neil deGrasse Tyson admits this works on both models. Now, Aristophanes, he presupposed a distant sun and then assumed parallel sun rays, which isn't what we see. We see corpuscular sun rays, and the sun isn't distant, it's local. That's why we have varying temperature variations. The North and South Pole are not analogous. With fauna, flora, drastic temperature variations. So you can tell us he did it with shadows and sticks, but that is affirming the consequent fallacy. It works on both models. Even the most popular scientists in the world had the balls to admit that. I wish you would.
So did you hear what he said immediately after that?
He said it works on both models.
Yeah, but did you hear what he said immediately after that?
Did you hear him say it works on both models?
I did, but you're literally taking it out of context.
Excellent.
Did you hear what he said immediately afterwards?
So it works on both models, according to Neil.
But did you... Okay, I'm just going to say what he said immediately afterwards, because
please, go ahead.
When it comes, what he said immediately afterwards was that if you were to add a third well, then you'd see that it only works on the globe.
Did he add a third well in that original study?
No, he didn't.
And
that still assuming parallel sun rays and distant sun.
Remember what happens
when
you just...
no.
Oh,
yes. So when you add a third well, you find that you get results that only line up on a globe. And people have actually gone ahead and done it with not just one, not just two, not just three, but
not
about
you,
20.
Right? But not you, right, Planarwalk? Not you. You didn't do any of this.
Not me.
Yeah, okay, of course. This is part of the religion, guys. I just want you to suck this all in. It's all regurgitation. It's all parroting. It's all, oh, these other guys did something with shadows and sticks. They can't look at the floor and determine its curving. That's a problem. So it's got to be sticks and shadows.
Hold on.
All right.
So are you saying that...
I want to make sure that Planarwalk gets a chance to respond, Nathan.
Yeah. Are you saying that 20 different people all conspired to come up with results that only match the globe? 20 different people.
People all affirmed the consequent. They assumed parallel sun rays and assumed a distant sun. Okay, so Planarwalk, hoping you have some scientific evidence the Earth rotates. Yes or no?
So firstly, I just want to say that when it came to those 20 different people, all they did was take a measurement, and then those measurements were compiled into a thing to show whether the Earth was flat. And when the Earth was flat, they all came up with weird angles that didn't line up. When they measured that the Earth, when they compiled it to a globe, all those lines that they came up with were parallel.
Got it. We live on a globe. Does it rotate or not?
Yes, it does.
Excellent. How fast does it rotate at the equator?
It rotates at 15 degrees per hour.
And in miles per hour, how fast is that?
Who cares?
Oh, who cares? I care, because 1,000 miles an hour is relatively fast. Now, does the atmosphere move with the Earth, or does it move separately from the
Big
Earth,
numbers.
creating what's called a Coriolis effect? And yes, that's the speed of a bullet. That is a big number. It's quite fast.
So there is a Coriolis effect, but that's
It is a
more...
Coriolis effect. Can you define it for us, please?
A Coriolis effect is when there are two reference frames and when something moving within one reference frame moves along another reference frame. That's
excellent. So when the hot air balloon goes in the second reference frame, right? It's no longer on the Earth. It would move separately from the Earth, right? Planarwalk?
It would.
It's yes or no.
Okay, so first off, when it comes to a hot air balloon, that would be subject to atmosphere, so things like wind. So you probably wouldn't.
Not Coriolis.
The Coriolis effect on the hot air balloon would be minimal. The hot air balloon doesn't go that high up in the atmosphere for it to have an effect on the hot air balloon.
The Red Bull space jump went up 228,000 feet. It ascended for 3 hours and landed back in New Mexico. So you're going to tell me that Earth rotated under the Red Bull space jump, Planarwalk?
So firstly,
how high do you have to go to rotate under you? Because Neil deGrasse Tyson said it rotates under footballs.
Well, first off, you'd have to do some calculations. Do you have any calculations of how far it should have moved?
I don't think it should move. I don't think the Earth rotates. This is your argument. You're supposed to have some kind of data for it. Now you're going to reverse the burden of proof and ask me to prove that the Earth is rotating, Planarwalk? Come on, buddy. Come on. You're going to have to do better than that.
So firstly, I haven't done these calculations, and I can't do the back of envelope calculations would take a while for us to do. So firstly,
how long have you been studying this? Why aren't you satisfied? Why don't you want to do your own research?
I want to. Okay, Nathan, 1 sec. I do want to be sure that Planarwalk has a chance to respond, because
I apologize.
Also, no, not a problem. We just got to be sure that Planarwalk and then Seek Truth, Speak Truth, as well, that each of you can respond now, just because we've heard from both Jeffrey and Nathan.
Yeah. So when it comes to these things, when it comes to the calculations, these calculations would take a bit of time to do, and I could probably do the calculations. But secondly, there are also other things that would have to consider when it comes to this as well. Like, was it directly up? If it was, then you guys might have a point. And then would have to work out, okay, does the offset, because when it comes back down, it would be offset back in the same direction, because when you'd pretty much expect it to land nearly the same place on a globe.
You just said Earth has a Coriolis and there's two reference frames.
Yes, but that is more. Those are more apparent when you're
reference frame now, and you'd expect things to go up and come back down on the globe.
Well, no, when it's going up into the reference frame, and then when it comes back down into the reference frame, it's going the same speed both times. So you'd expect it to end up in roughly the same place.
Yeah, but that's presupposing that it moves. That's the thing you're trying to prove. So you're begging the question.
No, this is what would happen if it's moving.
What would happen if the Earth was spinning? If Earth is spinning, so I'm just going to presuppose it's spinning.
Let's just be sure that,
what would happen.
Nathan, okay,
you're joking,
let's be sure we hear from both Planarwalk and Seek Truth, Speak Truth before we come back to the flat team.
So when it comes to I'm not saying this is why it's spinning. I'm saying this is what would happen, what we'd expect to see if it is spinning, right? And so I can give other things as to why it's spinning if you want me to do that.
Does the Earth rotate under hot air balloons, helicopters, and drones, or not?
So one of the things when it comes to
not a yes or no answer.
One sec. Nathan.
Does the Earth rotate under a water balloon?
All right, I hate to mute you. Okay, so basically what we are going to do, hold on 1 sec. What I'm going to do, Nathan, they can't hear you. I hate to do this, but just to restore order for a second, what we're going to do is just to be sure that we get to hear Planarwalk fully answer that question, and then also Seek Truth, Speak Truth, just to be sure that he has a chance to ask any questions or give any responses to those questions.
So, firstly, when it comes to this, Coriolis applies more to ballistic trajectory. If you want to if you want to use ballistic trajectory, be my guest. Go ahead and do that. But if you're not going to use ballistic trajectory, so when something goes up, it's entering into the second reference frame. But when it goes back down, it's entering back into the first reference frame. So you'd expect it to land in roughly the same place. When something's ballistic trajectory, especially when it goes north or south, then you would expect it to veer off course. And when it comes to the manuals for, then use for, what's it called? Gunships, I think it was. Then you can see that they have accounting for Coriolis.
And then Seek Truth, Speak Truth, if you have any answers as well or questions.
I think Planarwalk done that one very well there, but I'm still sort of sticking with the atmosphere.
Are you still with us, Seek Truth? Let me see if you have. You might be on mute.
Quiet.
Hello?
It's really, really low, Seek Truth, Speak Truth. It's like really hard to hear you. I think I hear like a faint whisper.
Hello. Yo.
Do you want to move closer to the mic?
Yeah, I've literally got it on my face. Hello?
We can see you, but we definitely it's almost as if you're almost muted.
Let me try some other headphones.
Let me just double check that you're not muted.
I think it might be due to some settings on Windows.
Gotcha. Sorry, Seek Truth. We still can't hear you. What we can do is still not yet.
He was talking the whole debate, and we didn't even know it.
Let's see.
Yeah.
You got to smile out of them.
Yeah.
We can hear you now. It's
Yeah, I've got nothing plugged in now, so
Perfect.
if there's any feedback, let me know.
You got it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, like sticking to the atmosphere, as the atmosphere does stick to Earth, again, we forget just how massive the Earth is compared to how thin that atmosphere is on top. Everyone, like that image that was shown by Nathan, obviously kind of just shows you like the atmosphere is nearly as big as the Earth. Do you know what I mean? When it's tiny in relation, it would be, again, I know people hate scaling things down, but my mind makes it's easier for me to understand. The Earth the size of a basketball, the atmosphere would be about 2 millimeters thick. It's absolutely tiny, and there's no reason why that wouldn't be dragged around with the Earth.
Well, there's no reason it wouldn't be dragged off into space, but we'll get to that in a second. That's my third point. We're still talking about Earth rotating. Planarwalk, you said they go up and land. You said they go up and land in the same spot now? Is that what you're saying?
You would expect that to happen,
but,
roughly.
No, we'd expect it to land in a different spot because you said earlier Coriolis was 2 separate reference frames. So when an object goes in the atmosphere, it would be in a separate reference frame and would land in a different position. That's what we should expect on a globe. You're just caught up in the doublespeak, where you say it has a Coriolis, but things go up and land straight down, which is no Coriolis.
So first off, you've got to consider that when it comes back into the first reference frame, right? It would basically be coming back to match the speed of the Earth.
That's presupposing that it moves, the thing you're trying to prove. So you're begging the question again. Do you have any proof the Earth rotates? Because, hey, get this. If it's not rotating, you throw things up, and guess where they go? Straight back down. So it works on both models. Did you have any evidence that proves that the Earth is spinning and, in fact, doesn't work on a stationary Earth?
Okay, here we go.
So when it comes to the evidence that the Earth is spinning, let's take Bob's 15-degree-per-hour drift.
In every airplane.
Do flat earthers do all your science for you, or just
I think Speak Truth is trying to add something.
No, yeah, just saying that obviously the ring laser gyroscope is used within modern navigation. It takes in consideration, obviously, what is going on, and it does get a 3-axis 15-degree-an-hour shift, which obviously shows the three motions of the Earth.
You realize they were using ring laser gyroscope, or they just started recently using ring laser gyroscopes. Before that, they didn't use ring laser gyroscopes. You know that, right?
Yeah, but we weren't all floating around before we discovered gravity.
Gravity was never discovered. It was conjured. We can discuss that in a second. But every commercial military aircraft has on board an instrument that only works on a flat Earth. It's called the artificial horizon or attitude indicator. Gyroscopes have 2 important properties, guys: rigidity in space and precession. The most important property of a gyroscope for the pilot is that it keeps its rigidity in space. The problem with the spherical Earth model is that a plane with an attitude indicator showing straight or level flight would cause the plane to fly off into outer space. Airplane flight is level. Jeff flew for many years. The FAA trains pilots on what's called a target generation facility, where they assume a flat and stationary Earth to train pilots. That's not just to make it easy. That's because they actually fly over a flat stationary Earth.
So, Nathan, I've got a question for you. Have you heard of, there's these things that, I can't remember what they are called, but they basically keep the pendulous veins. Yeah. Have you heard of pendulous veins?
Yeah, that's all new. They didn't have that for hundreds of years. That's only
got lots of them.
When they roll, there's no wobble when the plane comes back to normal. So it's for very few aircraft. It's not on every aircraft, and they didn't use it for 80 years. They used mechanical gyroscopes, guys, and mechanical gyroscopes do not drift. So my question to you is, do flat earthers do all your science proving the Earth rotates or not?
So you're just going to ignore Bob's observation.
Bob played with a brand new ring laser gyroscope, which isn't what they've used. And a ring laser gyroscope is a man-made apparatus, not a naturally occurring phenomenon. So did you think that there was anything in nature showing the Earth rotating, or just thingamajiggies that we can build that you don't have and you've never played with?
So when it comes to thingamajiggies that we build, they can be more accurate than other instruments. And the ring laser gyroscope is more accurate than...
I promise, Nathan, we can give you a chance to respond, but we do have to let him finish.
When it comes to a ring laser gyroscope, that is more accurate than your mechanical gyroscopes.
Man-made devices are not science. Did you have any scientific evidence the Earth rotates, or just thingamajiggies?
So we can use man-made objects to do science, because we use man-made objects.
This is when we get to discover how scientifically.
Hold on, Nathan, let's give him a chance. I appreciate your passion, Nathan, but just to be sure that there's equal time, I do want to let Planarwalk speak.
And Nathan, have you ever used a camera to take long-distance observations?
Yeah, never claimed it was a scientific experiment. That's an observation, which is the first step of science. You've got a couple of sciences to step 1. No, it's not. It's not look at an apparatus and then assert what the cause of the deviation is. Science is cause and effect. You need a hypothesis. Now, a hypothesis has an independent and dependent variable. You isolate the independent variable and determine it's the cause of your dependent variable, the effect you observe in nature. Now, I don't know about you, Planarwalk. I've never been walking in nature and stumbled across a ring laser gyroscope. Have you?
So firstly, you've got things wrong, because when it comes to science, firstly, you've got to come up with a hypothesis for why certain things happen. And then when it comes to the hypothesis, there should be a natural consequence of that hypothesis. So for example, the natural consequence of Earth spinning, actually, we could say that there would be a natural consequence of Earth not spinning, which was what Bob was doing, why he ordered a ring laser gyroscope. So the natural consequence of Earth not spinning is that there would be no drift when it comes to a ring laser gyroscope. So that would be your hypothesis. Your independent variable there would be time. So over an amount of time, you'd expect to see no drift if the Earth is not spinning.
Your independent variable is your cause.
No.
Oh, your independent variable is not your cause?
The independent variable is an influencing factor in the dependent variable.
Which would be a cause, okay?
No, an influencing factor is different to a cause. The cause would be the mechanism behind which, so basically why your hypothesis, behind which the independent variable influences the dependent variable.
The hypothesis should also contain a prediction about its verifiability. For example, if the hypothesis is true, then 1 should happen when 2 is manipulated. The first blank, the 1, is the dependent variable. It depends on what you are doing in the second blank. And the second blank is the independent variable. There should be no other variables in the experiment that may affect the dependent variable. So you're telling me the independent variable is time?
Yes.
Okay, so you proved time, not Earth rotation, time.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. If your independent variable was time, you proved time, not Earth rotation.
No, because there is a hypothesis.
Hold on, Nathan.
The hypothesis is the important thing.
Your hypothesis is flawed because
All
you
right,
don't have a
Nathan.
naturally occurring
I hate
phenomenon.
to do this, but we do have to let him respond.
So when it comes to science, the hypothesis basically says is basically detailing the relationship or the expected relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable. So the independent variable would be time, and you'd say that because the Earth is, so when it comes to Bob's things, he would say because the Earth isn't rotating, then we should expect no change in the drift of the gyroscope.
That's just a bold declaration.
Hold on.
What?
Let's just be sure he's done.
So what? So what Bob says? Is Bob in this debate?
One
Are
sec.
you debating
Nathan,
Bob?
I do have to be sure that let's be sure that Planarwalk had enough time to respond, and then it looks like Jeffrey had something to say.
I have a question for either Planarwalk or Seek Truth. Excuse me for mispronouncing your name. Do you feel that Albert Einstein had a pretty good handle on science and method and hypothesis and everything we've been talking about? You feel Einstein had a pretty good handle on it?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, and I know I'm going to butcher his name, but Henri Poincaré, do you think he had a pretty good handle on it as well?
I don't know who that is.
Well, let's just stick with Albert Einstein then. If you agree that he had a pretty good handle on it, then how do you feel, given what you've been saying for the past few minutes, when Albert Einstein said that I have come to believe that the motion of the Earth cannot be detected by any experiment?
Yep.
So what he was talking about there was
It's talking about the motion of the Earth.
Yeah, general relativity. I think it was something to do with general relativity. I'd have to look and see exactly what that quote was. But when it comes to that, there are experiments that can show the motion of the Earth.
Well, Henri Poincaré said that a great deal of research has been carried out concerning the influence of the Earth's movement, and the results were always negative. So, guys, with all due respect, you're a smart individual, but guys that had a lot more scientific knowledge than you do are flatly disagreeing with you, and they're not even in this debate.
I hate to bring out fallacies, but that is I'm pretty sure that's appeal to authority or.
So quoting Einstein is inappropriate for this debate?
Well,
Maybe
don't know the full
because he
context of that
disagrees with
quote.
you.
Well, I don't know the full context of that quote. The full context of the quote is really important there.
Okay, so you're punting. I get it.
That was a cherry pick thing, I think. I've heard Fight the Flat Earth. That's been brought up with him before. I don't know the explanation properly, but yes, Einstein's been kind of taken out of context, and I think it was something to do with like
Well, why don't you study it, and then when you know, come back and tell us instead of speculating on what you think when I've got a clear statement from what many people would argue is one of the greatest scientists ever.
One of the things I do want to ask is why Nathan is just flatly dismissing evidence that the Earth rotates.
That's not evidence. It's not scientific evidence, at least. You're affirming the consequent. You're saying, look, the light deviated in a ring laser gyro. The only reason that happens is Earth rotation. James, that's affirming the consequent. Okay? It's a fallacy, not scientific proof.
So firstly, when it comes to that, the hypothesis would be the Earth, if the Earth is stationary, then we would expect to see no deviation.
You
right?
don't have a hypothesis because you don't have a naturally occurring phenomenon. The cause of a ring laser gyroscope is always man, because man made the ring laser gyroscope, buddy. So
you don't need a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Ring laser gyros are not naturally occurring. Yes, correct.
But you don't need a naturally occurring phenomenon to do science.
You don't need to observe
Hold on a second.
naturally occurring phenomenon for science.
All right.
Really?
Exactly.
Let's
because there is when it comes to things. Sorry for interrupting, James. But when it comes to these things, there's things like chemistry, or better yet, medicine, which doesn't have naturally occurring phenomenon. Like we can't. What naturally occurring phenomenon is there for radiotherapy curing cancer? There is no naturally occurring phenomenon there. Whereas they do tests. What's that, Jeff?
There's absolutely naturally occurring phenomenon. If you say you're using a therapy and the tumor goes away, that's naturally occurring phenomenon. If it doesn't go away, that's also naturally occurring phenomenon.
But we don't occur radio waves curing cancer in nature. Okay,
well then it's not natural science, and you can't use it to prove the Earth rotates. Do you have any proof the Earth rotates, Planarwalk?
So are you just dismissing all of radiotherapy?
This isn't a debate about radiotherapy.
The Earth rotates. We're here having a debate on the shape of the Earth and whether it rotates. I don't know where you are in La La Land. We're not here to talk about drugs. Okay?
Well, I'm just using
scientific evidence.
It's called an anecdote, I think.
Or not.
An anecdote where I'm saying if you are taking something like, when you say that this doesn't fit this because of this particular aspect, we can apply it to other things and see if it follows. So if it doesn't follow with other things, like let's say radiotherapy, you basically disagree. If your statement cannot be applied to something else, then your statement is flawed. Do you understand that?
Not really, but
I'm just waiting for you to prove the Earth rotates. I don't need any more of your philosophical rambling. Okay.
Let me share this with you as well.
Scientific evidence would be
dismissing my evidence.
Hypothesis. So you start with the observation, then you formulate a hypothesis, not build something and then conjure a hypothesis. It's observation in nature, then hypothesis, then experiment. Now, if you can't meet that criteria, you could just be honest and say, I don't have a naturally occurring phenomenon. That proves the Earth rotates. You could do that, or you could just waffle on some more.
So when it comes to this naturally occurring phenomenon, you don't necessarily need it. Okay. It just comes to you need a hypothesis for which there would be a natural consequence. If that hypothesis accurately describes what happens with your independent and dependent variables and whatever, then you will have a result that may either provide evidence for your assertion or disprove your assertion.
If you don't have something happening in nature, you don't have a dependent variable, because that is the thing happening in nature. Now, Jeff, I'm done. This guy's scientifically illiterate. Let's move on to second law of thermodynamics.
Let me ask one last question, okay?
So you're just going to dismiss
Planarwalk, you were very impressed earlier about 20 people doing an experiment or 20 people sharing those results. You thought that was really powerful. If I were to right now give you 20 names of multi-PhD level physicists that state that the motion of the Earth has never been proven, would that be equally impressive to you?
So the difference here
yes or no? It's just yes or no.
Yes, I'm just going to say why it's different. So when it comes to the 20 people providing...
It's like, do you want to supersize that or not? It's yes or no, Planarwalk.
So there's a reason. So the answer is no, but I'm going to say why it's a no. The reason why it's a no is because
no this time.
People saying the Earth is flat is different to 20 people saying that the Earth is flat is different to 20 people going out and getting results that all corroborate with each other.
But let's move on to the final point there, Nathan.
Yep. Because
Yes, we will be going to the Q&A pretty soon here, folks. So let me know.
You're in charge, James. You just let us know.
You got it. It'll be in just a couple of minutes. So if we...
I'm not leaving, but I got to visit the facilities. I'll be right back.
You got it. So what we'll do is...
Just 1 minute, James, for the last topic. Planarwalk, can you demonstrate gas pressure without a physical container in a vacuum?
So I can demonstrate a difference in a difference in air pressure in these things. So if I go up,
that's
in the
no.
Hold on,
I
Nathan,
can't demonstrate gas pressure without a container.
We got to give him a chance, even if it's not a yes or no. We got to give him a chance to respond.
So if I go up in the atmosphere, then there's less pressure up there.
That's a Snoop Dogg fallacy. You don't have to get high or go up in the atmosphere to do science. Can you demonstrate gas pressure without a container? Because without the container, oh yes, you can. Show me.
Yep. So right here, there's a gas pressure of, I think it's about 105 kilopascals, and when I go higher up in the atmosphere, there is a lower pressure.
That's circular logic. You're assuming that there isn't a container. I'm saying that there is a container, and you're trying to prove there doesn't have to be one. So
first off, you're assuming that there's a container.
No, I'm not assuming. It's every observable phenomenon ever with gas is that it's contained or entropy takes place. Every observation ever. I'm not assuming anything. You're assuming that atmosphere could rest next to a vacuum. I'm asking you to demonstrate
entropy. Define entropy, please.
Can you demonstrate gas pressure next to a vacuum without a container?
Can you define entropy, please?
You need me to tell you what entropy is?
Yeah, because I think that you've got the wrong definition of entropy. What is entropy?
High pressure or high energy systems move towards low pressure or low energy systems. Did I get it
right?
So
it's not necessarily pressure. It's more that the energy in an isolated system will, the usable energy in an isolated system will decrease over time.
You like hearing yourself talk, but you don't show anything. Can you demonstrate gas pressure without a container?
Let's give Planner a chance to respond, and then we'll go into the Q&A.
That's proof that there's a gradient, not that there's not a container. You're not paying attention, or you're caught up with like something you've heard from some other globe head, and you can't think clearly. Okay.
We have lost.
Yes or no question. I can demonstrate it or not. And now you're gonna talk about a gradient again.
We have lost.
So when have you
Speak truth. He's back.
He wasn't doing it.
Give me a second. I'm just gonna make one little adjustment. So what I am going to do is we do have to get to these. We've got a lot of questions. So I do want to give Planner a chance to respond, or speak truth if he can hear me. And then we'll go into the Q&A.
So when it comes to gas pressure, the gas pressure on the ground is different to the gas pressure higher. Now, when it comes to your vacuum thing is only a difference in gas pressure, right? So it's not that there's a perfect vacuum and next to a full vacuum. So the fact that there is a difference in pressure at the ground to a difference in pressure higher is basically evidence that there doesn't always has to be a physical container there.
Surely if there was a physical container, it would be equal pressure throughout rather than the actual...
Earth's not a car tire. It's not a closed static system.
We've got to jump into the Q&A here.
Gas is being introduced, and also
so we do. Let's see. We do have to go into the Q&A.
It's a dynamic system. Is goofy because it's dynamic on both models.
Nathan, your volume, by the way, like I think your mic or your gain, something adjusted to your volume is lower than it was before.
Sorry,
but
yeah, I think
we're gonna jump into these questions from Witsit Gets It. We have our first one who says, "Hey, Globe Zealots, can the radius value change?"
There's a couple of radius values depending on whether it's around the equator or whether it's north to south.
Gotcha. And Mike Billars, thanks for your question, said, STST, were you legitimately a flat earther? I honestly thought that you were all pose. Nathan Thompson, JD, and STST, why did or do you think it was or is concealed?
I'm definitely not a I think I'd be a very sad person to be sitting here pretending that I'm believed the Earth was flat. I've been a little bit quiet tonight because this is my first ever debate. So obviously Planarwalk has a bit more experience than me, and I've took a seat back, if you know what I mean. But yeah, no, Poe. I'm here to learn because I know that I'm wrong about the shape of the Earth, or I was. So yeah, no, there are Poes, but I think Nathan's more likely to be a Poe, to be honest, than me.
Gotcha. Okay, well, Nathan, we have one for you. JPP3030 says, Nathan, science doesn't prove, quote unquote, things. How many times have you been told this? Proof is for math.
Oh, cool. So there is no proof. The Earth's a globe. Excellent. Thanks so much. Good comment.
Next, Witsit Gets It says, math is a description, science explains. I think that was in response to the last one. I'm not sure. But Mark Reed, thanks for your question, said, Nathan, if you have made, quote, hundreds of observations, then why haven't you wrote a paper with your observations and along with the math to be reviewed?
I'm not a writer.
Gotcha. And Crafty...
Nobody reads anything anymore anyway. He puts it on YouTube. That's where people see it.
Crafty Keela, thanks for your question as well. Said, Jeffrey and Nathan, can you explain the unbroken rocket footage released by Red's Rhetoric tonight? If there was a dome, it would have hit it. How high is your dome?
Rocket launches are parabolic, and there's no real pictures of the Earth from space. So you could believe it went to space, a second law of thermodynamics violation that Planarwalk couldn't demonstrate, but that's just a belief.
Gotcha. And just to let you know, folks, if I read the questions with a little bit of sass, I do it to both sides. It's just, I just get my jollies off it. I don't know.
James, just a quick response to a question that was asked earlier from me, and I'm sure it was of me. Why is it being concealed that it's a flat Earth? Well, I don't think it's the question of why it's being concealed that it's flat. It's a question of trying to make us, it's a difference of being a completely unique creation of the divine on a completely unique and amazing place versus a little microbe on a little speck of dust flying around a light somewhere that is completely insignificant in the overall scheme.
Let's see.
Jeffrey,
next.
could I ask a question?
Yeah, go speak truth.
I was just going to say, like, if there was a creator, why would he allow humans to hide him?
Why would he allow them to what?
To hide him and to allow humans to create the law of Earth.
He doesn't, because just like Facebook and YouTube have their algorithms to keep you from seeing the truth, God has his algorithms, and he says, if you are my people, you will know the truth.
Next up.
And we're here tonight revealing it.
Laura Ora Cox, thanks for your super sticker. Appreciate that. Mike Billars, thanks for your question. Said, Flat Earthers, I had my 3 sisters in Chicago, Atlanta, and Miami all measure the angle to view the sun at noon Central Time yesterday. Can you tell me what angles they measured? Because I predicted all 3 correctly, and guess what model I used?
Wow, good. Yeah, no data. Beg the question. Excellent. Next.
That's data, though. He's using data.
He said his sisters did it, and what do you think happened? He didn't present any data, Planarwalk, you goof.
Back to us when you do it.
Stop. We've got to go to the next one. Witsit Gets It, Nathan's twin brother, says, Globe fanatics, can abstractions have physicality?
So when it comes to, it depends what you mean by abstractions. Usually abstractions are used to describe something, like math could be considered an abstraction, and that can be used to describe certain concepts. Like you can use math to describe forces, for example.
Is time physical?
Forces can be used. It depends what you mean by time. Like we can measure time.
Oh wait, one question. Crafty
Mike Keelan for a yes or no answer.
Crafty Keela did ask, and I forgot, I don't know if I asked this or not, but they did ask how high your dome is. I think this is for Nathan and Jeffrey, if you believe in a dome.
Not sure. I don't assume the size of Venus and then do math. That's not how flat Earth works. That's how the globe cult works. That's how they determine distance to the sun.
Next.
I think dome is pretty much a straw man argument. No one here even mentioned a dome. No one said they're an advocate of a dome. So let's talk about what we've talked about tonight and not bring up straw man.
Well, when it comes to a dome, usually that's what's used for container.
Next, the Athens 619. Thanks for your question. Said, saying use your senses is a straw man. Please ask blind people if the earth is real. Deaf people, sound is real. Blind people, sight is real.
Yeah, well, you know what they say? In the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So I guess if you want to live in that type of a world, then go ahead.
Good answer.
Next, Rodney Felberg. Thanks for your question. Said, I can't wait until Elon Musk makes it accessible for us to go to space. Then we can finally put this flat earth nonsense in the coffin of
I
bad
would love
ideas.
to see it happen. I'll sign up.
They've been saying that for 40 years, guys. There was a guy in 1990 who started tracking when they were going to do civilian space travel. And in like 2004, he just gave up and said, hey, they're lying to you. They're never going to do it. I've been tracking it for 20 years. It doesn't happen. Okay.
There are civilians.
50,000
You guys
people. How high do I
think
gotta
they
go?
golf on the moon and we can't even send people into space yet? 50 years later, are you joking?
Next,
did you know that there was a? I just have to ask Nathan. Did you know that there was a guy that I can't remember his name? But he predicted that they would go to the moon and then not go back again because the economics, because it wasn't economically viable to go back again.
Wow.
Did you know that?
Thomas, that's cool.
Wow, that's great. Thanks.
Cool story,
Next,
bro.
I do think Seek Truth, Speak Truth. If you had something to add to that, I want to give you a chance. I thought I heard your voice.
No, sorry.
Gotcha. No problem. The Athens 619. Apparently you've got a critic, Nathan. They were willing to... So as I mentioned, we will only read these non-question type things if they're $5 or more to cut down on them. The Athens 619 was willing to spend...
Make it stop, Nathan.
They spent the $5 to... Okay. That's terrific. They wanted to insult Nathan. They say, Nathan is nothing more than the ramblings of a mentally deficient person. The Dunning-Kruger should be renamed to Nathan Thompson Scale.
It's not nudity unless you see a nipple, so it's okay.
Okay, well.
Can you even write cursive, bro? Can you even write cursive?
Crafty Keela, thank you for your support. Crafty Keela said, hit like, folks, and Planarwalk and STST for the win. You've got a fan out there from Crafty Keela. And B-Ball for Life, thanks so much for your question. Said, Nathan, what happens when there is no mirage and we see only half a building?
Well, there's other things besides mirage that can cause obstruction, like waves in the foreground, evaporation. So it's not just mirages that cause things to obstruct. There's multiple things going on, but on the globe, it's only Earth curve, guys. Only reason things disappear, Earth curve, right?
Gotcha. And thanks for your question. This one comes in from Witsit Gets It. Says, Planner, if the horizon is an apparent location, how did you originally substantiate an actual location of Earth curve? Because Alberini used the horizon.
So there are a couple of methods. Using images or using light in general is a pretty bad way because light is susceptible to refraction. One of the better ways is light going in the direction of or coming from the horizon is a bad way to get a location of the horizon. A better way is to measure the shape of the Earth using something like the Eratosthenes experiment.
Thanks. And Witsit Gets It strikes again. Says, terrestrial refraction is begging the question.
He's going to go broke if he's super chatting.
I want to know how it's begging the question.
Huh?
I want to know how it's begging the question.
Gotcha. And Mike Billars, thanks for your question, said, Nathan, how does GPS work? When you talk about fiber cables and balloons, prove it. I have made a GPS receiver from scratch, and it used globe equations.
Okay, well, he asked me how it works. We have over 600,000 cell towers in the US alone, 6 million across the world. Also, all the countries are connected with submarine fiber optic communication cables, and there are temporary helium balloons. Look up the Corona program. It's been declassified thanks to the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. And yeah, so there's no reason to have boxes in space falling in a circle around the presupposed ball. There are no pictures of that, and there's no scientific evidence for gravitational orbit either. So you can believe in cartoons all you want. This just
did you see the video that I had at the start where there was the ISS passing in front of the moon?
I didn't catch that, but the ISS is not real.
Next up,
how
come it's passing in front of the moon then?
Well, you saw something go in front of the moon. That doesn't make it the ISS Planarwalk. You just, again, affirmed the consequent. Look, they told me I'd see something in front of the moon, and I saw something in front of the moon, so it's the ISS!
Next, the Athens.
Well, what else could it be?
What
else could it be?
Next.
What else could it be?
It's the shape of the ISS.
It's a space station, guys.
Which is the size of a 747 that you can see.
This next super chat, maybe. I do have to be fair, I do have to give Nathan the last word because it was targeting him. However, the Athens 619 says, since Nathan loves to shout and be loud, let me quote from Team Skeptic, "Shut the F up, Nathan."
Shut the fuck
all right,
up.
no, we all right. We what was it? I can't remember.
Babies don't like hearing the truth.
Team Skeptic, that's right. You guys debated in person in Dallas. That was a special one. B-Ball for Life, thanks for your question. Said, Nathan, can you not tell the difference between something moving down and something moving away, the sun during sunset?
Yeah, I clearly showed a picture of the moon not moving down, but moving away. So that was my whole observation. And I explained why it goes down and touches the horizon. It's because you're at sea level, and that's where air is most dense, and you get the most distortion and refraction, which, according to Planarwalk, allows us to see all the way around the globe.
Which is a slightly illogical.
Super.
I've got a question for. I do have a question for Nathan.
You got a super chat, James. I'm done talking to you, Planarwalk.
Just in the interest of like getting through as many questions as we can, I do have to keep moving. Yes. Witsit Gets It says, where's the primary documentation for Eratosthenes? Oh, it's embarrassing. Eratosthenes?
Eratosthenes.
Thank you.
Well, I don't think we need the primary documentation because that was years ago, but there have been, it has been replicated. So using the data from the replication, then you can basically, you can use the data from the replication to confirm what he was, what he initially proposed.
Yeah, you can assume parallel sun rays too, but we don't have that. We have crepuscular sun rays. You know how to make crepuscular sun rays, Planarwalk?
Oh yeah, I can make the sun appear behind a tree. Like I get these sun rays that are coming, so the sun's just behind a tree. Have you seen that?
Next up.
No, when I was in high school, I had a best friend, and if I lied, he'd swear to it. It was the funniest thing.
Next up, B-Ball. I want to give Planner the last word just because that one was directed at him. Planner, if you have a last word for that.
I forgot the super chat. What was it again? The
Eratosthenes.
Oh yeah, I did respond to it.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Next up.
I said that we've replicated many times.
Thanks for your question. B-Ball for Life said, Flat Earth, claiming they need data, but can't give us data about how far the sun is from flat Earth.
Yeah, we haven't measured it. At least we're honest about it. We don't assume the size of Venus and then do math and pretend to know how far it is and then change it a million times. Give me a break, dude.
Next, Mike Billars, thanks for your question, said, Jeff, will you swear to James that you're honestly a flat earther?
Well, first of all, we can also look at the sun and look at how it behaves. There's a difference how something 93 million miles away would cast light and how something very, very much closer would cast light. So we could start there and look at that. Well, I look at James and swear that I'm a flat earther. I will look James right dead in the eye and say that I am a dedicated geocentrist, and I'm 95% sure from my observations that the Earth is flat. But hey, I could be wrong. All I want is one picture from space that's not CGI'd, and I'll shut up.
Next, thanks for your question from Mike.
To
fly through as many as we can. I'm sorry to do this to you, Planner, but we do have a lot, including some for you still. Mike Billers, thanks for your question. Said, Jeff, will you... Oh, we got that one. Maynard Saves said, is Jeffrey a young Earth creationist? I'd like to see him debate something biblically. James is a reptilian.
Is that a question? I missed it if it's a question.
They asked if you're a young earther.
No.
Gotcha. And Rumpely Depew, thank you for your question, said, please ask the flat earth side why we must use spherical geometry instead of plane geometry to accurately navigate a long triangular trip. By the way, this can produce a triangle with more than 180 degrees.
They navigate using a sextant for thousands of years. The sky is a map and a clock that would not work if we're blasting through space, and the oceans are measurably flat. You can test it. So,
and I was a C-130 crew chief for almost 8 years. The C-130 crew chief's duty station while flying is on a bunk right above the navigator. I had long talks with navigators. They showed me what they figured. They showed me what they took into account. And not once did the words curvature of the earth ever pass the lips of a C-130 navigator.
Or rotation of the earth.
Next question. The Athens 619, a critic of Nathan, says, Nathan being dishonest with the quote, more than 3 will be impossible on a flat earth.
More than 3 what?
I don't know. Next, Gabriel K. Thanks for your question. We can come.
Oh, I know what he was talking about when it came to more than 3. More than 3 when it came to the Eratosthenes stuff.
Oh, I think that might be it.
Yeah,
Planarwalk, I think you just like saying that name.
Next, let's see. Well, Nathan, if you, given that that was the context that they were referring to, do you have a response?
Yes, I do. They assume parallel sun rays, which isn't what we observe, guys. Look at the sun rays coming through the clouds. They are crepuscular. The only way to duplicate that is with localized light, obstruction, and particulates in the air. There is no other way to duplicate crepuscular rays.
Next, Mike Billars, thanks for your question, said, Natalie, you really should just chill out when... When was the last time that you just took a deep breath? Be more like Jeff. He's not freaking the F out.
That's because I'm old.
Good job, Jeff.
Next, the Athens 619 is coming at you, Nathan. They say, I did warn you, Planarwalk, that Nathan would shoot off fallacies he doesn't know, interrupts before Planner can answer.
You didn't name one fallacy that I shot off. I named like 10 that he gave me. So what the hell is that person talking?
When it comes to fallacies, he's meaning that you're talking... You'll say the word fallacy even though someone hasn't used a fallacy.
When did I do that in this debate, Planner?
You've said it many times. You've said...
one example.
You must... given that
affirming the consequence fallacy, when I actually stated it in a way that it wasn't affirming the consequence fallacy.
How do you state it?
Given that this,
I stated it in a way when it came. It was when it came to the ring laser gyro.
Yeah,
and you said that there was
no way to manipulate.
You have to give Nathan the last word, given that the super chat was technically targeting him.
Yeah. There's no way to manipulate the cause of the ring laser gyro, so you are in fact affirming the consequent. You said, "Look, light deviating."
Billars,
Earth rotation.
Mike Billars. Thank you for your question. Mike said, according to evolution, these things should evolve on their own.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
According to what?
Evolution. They said.
I think I think what he's talking about is he's talking about cosmic evolution or something like that. That's a different type.
I don't think he's sure what he's talking about, but
I think he's meaning that the globe should evolve on its own or something like that. It is very confusing, as Jeff.
Evolve or revolve?
I'm confused as well. But
evolution or revolution?
Witsit gets it, steps in, saying globies. I like that. Okay, how do you prove? I love you if you're globy. Don't worry. It says, how do you prove causation of precession?
Ooh.
What's that?
They said, how do you prove causation of procession? Sorry about that.
So firstly, we know what causes a ring laser gyroscope to turn, right? Or to drift. And that is when it's not still. So we can use that and say, well, if it is at rest, then it should not have any precession.
Gotcha. Next up, thanks for your question. This one comes in from the Athens 619. Wouldn't you know it? Says, What makes Jeff so special from the hundreds of thousands of pilots who say the Earth isn't flat? Is Jeff talking for all pilots?
No, Jeff is talking from his own personal experience. And if you would like to give me names and sworn affidavits from those pilots, I'd be happy to look at them. All I know is what I have seen. And let me ask that person, instead of throwing a stone at me, have you flown in an F-15 inverted at 50,000 feet and looked down? Yes or no? Have you been in a C-130 over 1,000 flight hours? Yes. Okay. No. Have a nice hot cup of shut the hell up.
Next, Ron Boyd Goat Cabin, thanks for your question, said, Nathan, pulling a stupid face and gesturing wildly doesn't validate your argument.
Yeah, Nathan.
Yeah, crying about my facial expressions doesn't validate your argument either.
Mark Reed, for Nathan, says, how do you expect to win a debate when you presented zero evidence for flat Earth? Evidence against a model is not evidence for yours, is it?
I did. We could see too far. I don't know if you saw the 6 lighthouses I showed, or the Chicago skyline, or the world record photograph, which was missing 50,000 feet of Earth curvature. But you got to pay attention more, buddy. I mean, maybe you got in here late or something. I don't know.
I'm not going to say Nathan won this debate, but if it had been a boxing match, the referee would have stopped in and stopped it.
Next up, thanks for your super chat. This one comes from Brainy Beaver. Says, A. Einstein got some things wrong, but not most.
He plagiarized all of his, nothing he came up with was his. He was also a bigot, according to his journals. He failed the entrance exam to college, and he tested the lowest IQ in his school. So that's your freaking Einstein. And Einstein's also a euphemism for an idiot because they have one stone rolling around in their head, just like the Globers who can't get this imaginary globe out of their head.
Okay, next up. You certainly have a lot of
those things were
expressions.
wrong.
Next up, B-Ball for Life, thanks for your question, said, Nathan, if the Earth were round, how would a sunset look if the Earth was rotating and revolving around the sun?
It's round on both models, so you got to go to school, learn shapes. But if we were on a spinning ball falling backwards 1,000 miles an hour during sunset, I think we'd be able to figure that out.
Next,
Brief.
Truth Nerds, appreciate it, said, pendulous vanes are used on mechanical attitude indicators. They're not needed for electronic indicators with optic gyros. Nathan, all wrong once more.
I didn't make any claims about Planarwalk. I was talking about them, and I just said they use them so that when the airplane flips around, the gyroscope doesn't shake and wobble when they correct from the rolling. Pitch. Yeah. So
it also can correct for the motion of the Earth as well.
Gotcha.
Well, if they can correct for the motion of the Earth, they don't even need to have a freaking gyroscope in there. They could just put a pendulum in there and blast it with air with the pendulous vanes. Numpty, what are you talking about?
Gabriel K says. Next says.
Joke, dude.
Said, did you pick your P900 of a tree? No. Not natural. Natural? I don't know. That's how it's spelled, as natural. But
yeah,
John
1000 isn't science. It's
John. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. John Rapp said, Nathan, what is your experimental scientific evidence that the flat Earth is stationary? Your childish quote unquote "we see it" is not acceptable experimental evidence.
Yeah, sure there is.
What's the independent and dependent variable?
Gotta give Nathan a chance to respond here.
Not for you. Okay. So stationary is not a claim. I'm not making any claims like the Earth rotates 1,000 miles an hour and then can't prove it. I need flat earthers to prove it for me, like you, Planarwalk. But I don't have any claims about the Earth. It's stationary. The only people who think it moves are drunk, period. So have fun with that.
Next,
this does sort of move if you're drunk, Nathan. I got to say that.
This question from Andrew Handelsman says, Nathan, do you use equipment for your experiments? If so, wouldn't you need to throw out those results as they're man-made?
Yeah, observations are not experiments. So they have a problem with my observations and using mechanical devices. That's their fault. They don't know what an observation is. The shape of the Earth is not a science question, guys. It's a what is question. Science is cause and effect relationship. So if you're trying to determine if something's a ball or not, it's not cause and effect. It's what is question. In that case, you can use a camera and we can prove it's not a globe. Adios. This globe funeral right here. Hope everyone's wearing black. Jeff, you look good.
Next,
Thank you, brother.
Next up, thank you for your question from Witsit Gets It. Says, claims about the natural world fall under natural science. This requires scientific experimentation. Zealots were utterly destroyed. Sheer domination.
So when it comes to this, it's using a very rigid definition. First off, I ask things like, does the independent variable have to be the cause of the dependent variable, or can it just be an influencing factor? And they all, every single one of them say that it can just be an influencing factor. And that was except for Professor Dave, who actually went a step further and said, it doesn't need to be this, science isn't this complete rigid definition, because otherwise things like chemistry just wouldn't exist, because chemistry doesn't have
of science and the scientific method. You hear me?
I can see him.
I heard him.
You guys hear me? There should be no other variables in the experiment that may affect the dependent variable. That's from Christine McLeland on the nature of science and the scientific method. So when this numpty says, every scientist
Got to give him.
believes what I say, he's an idiot.
This is the challenge was directed or targeting Planarwalk and STST, so I want to give them the last word on it. Next, Witsit Gets It. Oh, we got that. Let's see. Puncher says, how much lead paint did Nathan? Let's see. Next.
Yeah.
Hugh Jarsz said the dome is not as high as Dr. Let's see. I don't know who that's.
You don't need to drink lead paint to have balls of steel. You just need to have courage and be a trendsetter.
Mike Billard. Uh-oh. Hopefully we, can you
You're
guys
back.
see me now?
You're still
Yeah,
there.
I can see you.
Gotcha, thanks. My connection's been wobbly tonight. So, Hugh Jarsz, thanks for your questions. We got that. Mike Biller said, Jeff, Nathan said the dome exists. That's what the whole pressure discussion was about. Were you paying attention?
I called it a firmament or a container or the sky map or sky clock. As far as I remember, I didn't say dome, but who really cares? Because it's contained. I mean, it's contained.
Next, Laura
What he said.
Ora Cox, thanks for your support. Appreciate your super chat and super sticker.
First and then fall off it. But if we haven't seen it, why would we fall off something we haven't seen? And you guys think we're on a ball blasting 500,000 million miles an hour a day through space? When do we hit the edge of space, guys? You numpties. Or, oh, wait, it's just infinite, ever expanding. Oh, that's great. Well, flat Earth is infinite and ever expanding too. You can stop asking that stupid question.
Next, B-Ball for Life, thanks for your question, said Jeff should debate blue marble science and Wolfie about plane flight.
I stand ready to debate anybody, anywhere, anytime, but I've been making this request for 3 years, and all I have heard are crickets.
Gotcha. And thanks for you.
Wolfie
Thanks for your,
6020 should be.
we do have to
should
give
be
him the
happy to
last
debate
word.
you.
Let's see. Rumpely Depew, thanks for your question, said, please thank the Flat Earth side for a complete non-answer that seems based in ignorance of mathematical implications of my question.
Okay.
Next.
Did he type that while sucking on his mom's boob? I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Gosh, Nathan, seriously. Okay, next,
That's
James
crybaby.
Liberato.
Listen, crybabies? You hear them, right?
Next right now, it just keeps ebbing and flowing. Sorry about that, guys. James Liberato, thanks for your question, said, Nathan and Jeffrey have very low standards of evidence for what they want to believe, but a ridiculously high standard for what they don't believe. If you guys are trolling, you both are very good at it.
Why are we talking about beliefs? Science can be verified, tested, observed. I've done hundreds of observations. Planarwalk and Seek Truth, Speak Truth, I've done none. Sweet.
But I have done observations and I showed them at the start.
You didn't show us anything. You played clown music. You didn't tell us anything. I didn't know those were your observations. It didn't say filmed by Planarwalk. And when I asked you for data, you didn't give me any. You just told me a bottom-up fallacy.
Next.
Some of the
My
observations
answer to that
filmed
would
by me, but
be,
not all of them.
if no one had ever told you that you're on a spinning ball that's careening through space, circling around the sun, that's circling around a universe, you'd have never thunk it.
Next up, B-Ball for Life. let's see.
Not necessarily.
Nathan and
Oh,
Jeff.
no,
B-Ball for
I
life.
get the last word he asked me.
Jay, we've got another one. This one is B-Ball for life asking Jeff, what about the MiG flight where you can pay to see the curvature of the Earth or your money back?
What about it? Show me data. Show me that's done it. Show me somebody that comes back with pictures of it. Until then, come on, man.
Dabbing Good says, way to kill it, Nathan. Fat BONG rips on me. Gotcha. We're trying to be family friendly, folks. Okay. Gemsy Game says, why isn't there any parallax observed with Polaris or any stars after traversing trillions of miles? Hey, Nathan from Gemsy.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Stars do move. They have moved.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay. If you say
Witsit gets it. Nathan, I got to give him the last word. Said, Witsit gets it says, please try to place your zealotry aside and answer specifically for one, can the 3959 mile radius of the Earth be wrong and the model still be correct?
So the radius of the Earth is, yeah, we can basically say that it's that it is always the same. Now, the reason why you may get different observations is just simply due to things like refraction.
Next up, Gabriel K sends a spooky but I consider sincere statement. Says, here's $10 for my comment, James. Don't donation shame, please. $5 for you to read a comment. Funny faces won't hide that attitude. It is, well, one challenge, but to be fair, we are modern day debate, not modern day super chats, and that's why we are going to try to cut down on the amount of super chats by raising the price for them. I mean, if you want people to buy less of something, you raise the price. So we do want to cut down the super chat time, though we really appreciate it. Now,
James, I really appreciate this channel. I'm not trying to just blow smoke up your skirts. I appreciate it. This is a great need, and I'm glad that you're doing it. Keep it up.
Thanks, I appreciate that. That really does mean a lot. We really do want to serve all sides in the most fair way. So we
need dialectic discussion so we can really learn things instead of this didactic, I told you, believe it.
Appreciate that. And they said, maybe look around and around you and see who are whispering in your ears. Love you. It's like probably the weirdest one I've got, but I appreciate it. I love you too. Then Witsit Gets It said, did you just call Professor Dave a scientist, Planarwalk?
Yes, he has actually done science. He's a chemist, for first and foremost.
Next, John Robertson, thanks for your question, said, Flat Earthers, please explain how at every latitude the sun rises due east and sets due west on the days of the equinoxes.
Yeah, because as the sun goes around polar center 2 days a year, it goes above your head. And then it passes you and goes towards the Tropic of Cancer, and it goes back towards the Tropic of Cancer. That's why we've had sun analimas. That's why people believe we have alternating seasons in the north and south, but we don't. Fauna and flora is very different in the north and south, and we have drastically different temperature variations in the north and south. So that's why you're not on a tilted spinning ball 93 million miles an hour from the heat, 93 million miles from the heat source.
Next up,
well,
Tanner. Well, this is a chance. This might be a good chance for you, Planarwalk. Tanner withheld. Okay. Thanks for your question or comment. Said Planarwalk. Insert your question here. So I think they're giving you an open slot to ask a question to the Flat Earth team.
Okay, yeah, I've got a particular question for Nathan. And Nathan, don't try and dodge it. Just try and answer to the best of your abilities, right? And that is, why is the sky blue?
Because there's water above.
Next
up. Have you verified that?
Have I verified that? No, that's just why I think the sky is blue.
Next up, I do have to keep moving. We gave you two there. Baller Dave, thanks for your question. Said, let's see. Forget looking for the curve. Where is Nathan's mustache? Nathan, I just realized, wow, that is, what inspired this new beard, Nathan? People are curious.
I was on a hot date and I was scruffing up her lips when I was kissing her, so I shaved my face so that I could make out with her.
That's what you call service to others right there.
That's really romantic. Okay, so next up says, let's see. R Rampant says, Jeffrey, why do you have CONFEDERATE flag.
Oh, we can't say that out loud.
Is it because of RACISM? I want to give you a fair shot to answer it. I want to
ask him a question. Are you STUPID?
Gotcha. Okay, well, next up, let's see. We do have another one from John Rapp, who says, Nathan, how many miles per hour do the 3 clock hands move?
Oh, Jeff, you're hilarious. I don't know. I've never tested the clock hands moving, but they definitely do move. You can tell they're moving. Earth doesn't.
I want to know how fast Nathan's hands moved on that date after he shaved off the mustache.
Okay. So next up, Family Friendly. Witsit says, Planner, can you explain the Selenian eclipse?
Selenelion eclipse.
Thank you.
I haven't looked into that. Like, what are the claims about that?
Well,
I think Nathan.
Sun and moon are both visible, but the moon is eclipsed. Now, the Earth could not be obstructing moonlight if the moon and sun are both visible above the horizon to a single observer.
Oh, so
Selenium.
Oh, yeah. So now I understand, and that's due to refraction, I believe.
Oh, okay. So if it's due to atmospheric conditions, which change hour to hour and day to day, how do you predict that months in advance, Planarwalk?
Okay, I will have to look into it.
You can only see that in one place, though.
You should look into that.
Hold on, let's let STST. We haven't heard from him for a while.
That's a good answer, though. That's an honest answer.
No, I was just going to say that you can only observe that from one place, if you know what I mean. And obviously, it is predicted on the globe exactly where you'll see it. They are both on each side of the horizon. But you travel 30 miles south, you're not going to see it.
Well, in that case, yeah, then it would be due to refraction.
It is refraction.
We do have another.
Predict that months in advance, guys.
We do. We have to move to the next one. Team Gast, thanks for your question. Said the infallible. They said the infallible characteristics of the moon phases are not and could never be a coincidence. Sync yourself with the Creator's calendar. It is the only clock man cannot corrupt. Only your perception can be manipulated.
Reach!
Interesting.
Gotcha. And
there's not much to say about that.
Let's see. Does that mean you agree or?
No, it's more of there's a whole lot of nothing. It's just a statement with no evidence.
Next,
the moon proves the globe.
Rumply Depew, thanks for your question, said one more chance for flat Earth. Why must one use spherical geometry to accurately navigate a large triangular trip as plane geometry fails?
Were they not listening when we answered this before?
Yeah. They navigated the oceans, which are measurably flat, according to the U.S. Coast Guard, which has a geographic range table, lists distances you can see at sea level, and those distances would be impossible on a globe, but they navigate using the stars. The sky's a map and a clock. We already had a question why there's no parallax after thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and they just said, yeah, there is parallax. No, we have constellations, 88 of them. They've been consistent since the beginning of time.
Why does the clock have two faces, then, Nathan? Why are there two faces on the clock? Northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, two faces. You're talking about one face.
Yeah, there's only one face, the Earth, and it faces the sky.
Next.
No, but we can observe. No, you carry on, dude.
Oh, okay. We've got next one coming in from Red Cosmos Devil. Says, Jeffrey, why is the sky blue? Why can't we see the Polaris from the southern hemisphere? Just Jeff. No brain dead Natalie, please.
We already answered that question.
Next. This one comes in from, let's see. I think I've got these in the right order. Forgive me, folks, if I haven't. This one comes in from Eric W. Says, Planner is going to go ghost for a while, then come back as flat Earth. Aliens are fake, Planner. The truth is amazing. Ditch the globe. See you on the good side.
Hey, yeah.
So, I do have to admit the truth is amazing, and from what I can see, the truth is that the Earth is a globe, and these two people haven't convinced me otherwise.
You haven't convinced yourself. Go do your
Next, let's see. I do have to give Planner the last word if you want to say
So you're
anything.
telling me there's a chance, Plan?
Yeah, we got room for
Well,
you.
if you were to give me a model, then I'd consider it. But so far, every model that I've seen is.
Dude, come on. I used to be a model.
I have a six-pack.
Next, Nathan does. He sent me pictures
that
of
kind
his
of
six-pack.
model.
Okay, next up, Wits It Gets It. Thank you for yours. Says, third time is the charm.
Here we
Please
go.
actually answer this time. If the radius value of 3959 miles is wrong, can the model still be correct? Yes or no?
It would. So first off, that does presuppose that the value is incorrect, and I'd say that I think the value that you're talking about is correct. I'd just have to check it. But if it was incorrect, then there'd be a lot of inconsistencies. So it would definitely put a hole in the globe model if it were to be incorrect.
Gotcha. And next up, thanks for your question. This one comes in from B-Ball for Life. Says, were either of you gentlemen flat earthers before Eric Dubé's 200 proofs? Dubai's?
Dubé, you had it right.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a flat earther before I saw his video.
I was not.
Gotcha. And James Labredo, thank you for your question, said, Nathan and Jeff, how do you account for the anti-clockwise rotation of low-pressure weather systems in the northern hemisphere, also known as the Coriolis effect?
No, that's not the Coriolis effect. That's storms, and storms are caused by the electromagnetic wake of the sun and moon. So, of course, you run your hand through the pool water, you'll get vortexes in different directions. So as the sun and moon traverse the equator above the flat Earth, you get storm patterns in different directions. That's not proof we are spinning 1,000 miles an hour.
Nathan, I just have to ask, do you have any evidence that it's the electromagnetic whatever of the sun and moon?
You can demonstrate how that would work by running your hand through soapy water or a pool and observing the vortices behind it, okay? Now, he asked how this works because he thinks it's proof that it's a globe, and I just told him how it would work on a flat Earth. I've been too busy doing astrophotography, long-distance observations, and making videos and doing activism while you do nothing to verify that myself. So when I do, I'll let you know, Planarwalk.
Next up, thanks for your question from John Rapp, who says, Nathan and Planarwalk, what is the moon's rotation?
I'd say that the moon's rotation is 1 rotation per month.
Nathan?
Well, the moon rotates around polar center. It makes a complete circuit from Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn in 28 days. And moonlight's cold, measurably cold. This has been proven by not just flat earthers, but globe heads like Ken Wheeler, Mr. Magnetism, with a flare.
Next up, Wits It Gets It.
I proved
says,
that myself. I did it myself.
Yeah.
Wits It Gets It says, falsification is independent of replacement. Peace.
Yep. They're over here saying, oh, all you did was debunk our model. You didn't show us how flat it is. Well, falsification is independent of replacement. Very true.
We've got to give them a chance to respond now.
So when it comes to falsification, like if you falsify something, that does not mean that it is suddenly what you are saying. You've got to then prove that it's what you're saying. So if you've managed to falsify the globe Earth, then you've got to have an then afterwards, it doesn't mean that the Earth is flat. It could be that it's a cylinder or some other crazy shape. You've then got to propose some. Like if you want to say that it's flat, then you then need evidence for it actually being flat, not just not being a globe.
Next up, thank you for your question. This one comes from R. Ampant. Says, for Jeffrey, why do you have the flag associated with racism and slavery? Do you support that sort of thing?
Well, that would say to me that you are racist and you are a person that condones slavery, because that's what it means to you. I was born and raised in the Confederacy, and that flag means the same thing as that flag. We've been pushed too far, and we're not going to take it anymore. We've drawn a line in the sand, and be damn careful if you cross it.
So we're not gonna take it.
Gotcha. And I think that was it for our questions. So We definitely appreciate all of your questions, folks. Definitely appreciate all of our guests. I have updated the description box, so it has each and every one of their links. So if you'd like to hear more, if you're listening and you're like, I like that, you can hear more. Those links down there in the description box are waiting for you. So one last thank you to our guests, Jeffrey, Nathan, Planarwalk, and STST. It's been a pleasure to have you guys.
Thanks for having
Thank you for having me on.
Honored to be here. Planner, Seek Truth, Speak Truth. Nathan, it's been a pleasure and honor to be with you. You too, James.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Funeral.
Yeah.
Thank you. And also, yes, we will be back this Wednesday for a debate on whether or not Black Lives Matter does more good than harm. So that should be a juicy one. And we should, this Friday, I don't know if you guys know who David Friedman is, but basically the son of Milton Friedman, the legendary libertarian. He is actually going to be on this Friday with Brenton Langle. We have a lot of big ones coming up, folks. Somebody just contacted me today to say Sargon of Akkad. They're working up something to connect with him on here. So we're very excited for the future. I cannot say thank you enough, everybody. Your support means so much, and we have big plans for the future. We really do want to keep kind of upping the quality of the debates here. And so we give all credit to everybody out there. It's a group effort from people from all walks of life. So thanks for that. We hope you keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable, and we will see you next time, everybody. Take care.